We're at Leeds today for the first test, but it's Australia who leads the series. For England, it's do or die. 3 cup finals from here on in to save their series and potentially win it. Who will come out on top this time? Let's take a trip to Headingley. Good to have you on here as always, and welcome to the Coach's Corner. Yes, people. Not the yo people that you normally get from Hanno, but he's South African, I'm English, and that's a pretty much common turn of phrase from them. But I do apologize for being 6 minutes late, but we are here. It is, of course, the anthems that are taking place right now. We had Advanced Australia Fair, and now it's the turn of God Save the King for England. And I did actually take the liberty of posting a few comments on behalf of Hanno and our team. And as I've said, broadcast is a little bit late. Please bear with us. Thank you for bearing with us. And we are here now. And an update, of course, is that Ben Stokes won the toss at Headingley, and England are going to bowl first with the hope that they can try and take advantage of the conditions. The legendary umpire Harold Dennis Bird, one of the audience members today, better known, of course, as Dickie. Oh, Dickie, you're so fine. You're so fine. You blow my mind. Enough of that nonsense. And this is England's 11. Zach Crawley, Ben Duckett at the top of the order. Harry Brook has pushed up to number 3 with Joe Root at number 4. Bairstow is batting at number 5 with Captain Ben Stokes at 6. And Bairstow still has the gloves. No Ben Folkes. But there is Chris Wokes as he makes his comeback alongside Moeen Ali, who also returns. Muhammad Ali, that would have been an epic fail. Mark Wood comes into the team instead of Josh Tongue. Wokes is, in fact, in for James Anderson, who's been dropped. Ollie Robinson and Stuart Broad rounds off that team. And for Australia, it is Mitchell Marsh in for Cameron Green, Todd Murphy in for Nathan Lyon, and Scott Boland in for Josh Hazlewood. Hazlewood's having his workload managed. Green has a slight hamstring strain, and of course, Lyon has been ruled out of the series, just like Ollie Pope has been for England. England don't have middle order cover, and we now see Warner and Khawaja walking up to bat. And so this is the team for Australia: Khawaja, Warner, Labuschagne, Smith, Travis Head, Mitchell Marsh, Alex Carey, Mitchell Stark, the captain Pat Cummins, Scott Boland, and Toddy Murphy. And we got a few people coming in. Daz Reynolds, morning to you, mate. Thank you very much indeed for joining in. And Pargav, England are going to win. From your lips to God's ears, brother. I hope that happens, but I can't see it happening. Moeen Ali could be getting some good wickets, and of course the spinner has been brought back in. Joe Root, also on his home ground, will be expected to turn his arm over. Headingley, of course, was the scene for that magnificent Ashes win in 2019. What a brilliant match that was. And of course, it was Joe Root who was captaining the team that day, but Stokes played the heroic hand. Yorkshire is, of course, home to some of the finest ever cricketers to have played for England, 2 of whom are in fact in the team today. Mixed series, you could say, for both of these legendary Yorkies, but Joe Root is still a quality player. Bairstow will have a lot of questions to answer about his wicket-keeping, and although he batted well in the first innings at Lord's, since then it's been a bit mixed. David Warner is, of course, playing his 107th Test match. And his former captain, Stephen Smith, of course, will be playing his 100th today. But 35 50s and 25 centuries for the opening batsman, with a best of 3, 35 not out against Pakistan at Adelaide. It is the tall, old, reliable Stuart Broad who will be opening the bowling. He will not be with his long-time partner who has been dropped. He will be bowling, of course, from the Kirkstall Lane end. And is he going to start by bowling round the wicket or over the wicket to the left-handed Warner? We will see. 593 wickets in his career. He should cross the 600 landmark in this series. So, as I said, this is the third Ashes Test live from Headingley in Leeds. And I will change this scoreboard as soon as the first over is bowled. But it is, of course, Stuart Broad to open proceedings from the Kirkstall Lane end at Headingley. And he will be bowling right arm, fast medium. Over the wicket or around the wicket? It is round the wicket to the left-handed Warner with 3 slips in the gully, and that is very well played down to the long-on boundary, and Australia have their first runs on the board. Warner punching that back very well indeed. Not that much protection or cover in that region, and Stuart Broad looking broadly peeved, I would say. Found that direction perfectly, used the pace well to just punch it back and send it all the way past the mid-wicket fielder. There was no mid-on, really, so I think that might be changed. First blood to Warner. The Warner-Broad duels over the years have been magnificent. Let's see who comes out on top this time. Well, the second delivery from round the wicket goes through to the wicketkeeper Bairstow, aiming, sort of shaping up to play, but in the end, allowing that to go through the opening batsman. And Broad at the moment still trying his best to work. He does have responsibility of the new ball. It is expected to seam in these conditions, and Headingley has always been known for being a bowler's pitch. So we're going to find out what more will be taking place. England have, of course, won the toss, electing to bowl. They've won all 3 of their tosses this series so far, but they've lost 2 of their 3 matches. The third ball is sort of, you could say, defended all the way to the extra cover fielder. And the pitch does look absolutely pristine. Mark Wood should be getting to bowl after this over, and he is expected to try and hit the deck very hard. But it is still Broad round the wicket with 3 slips in the gully and a wicket-keeper, and some very good defensive play there, plays straight back at the bowler. Now, Australia opening with 2 left-handers, Warner, who's about 5'7", I'd say shorter than me slightly, and Khawaja standing under 6 feet. Not that much of a height difference as you would find in Zach Crawley and Ben Duckett, of course. Crawley towering over 6 feet, with Duckett being about 5'7" or 5'8", but contrasting approaches which have proved effective. And has that carried? Yes, it has! A huge nick straight through to the slip fielder, and first blood goes to England. 5th ball of the over. Stuart Broad has his wicket, and David Warner, who has batted very well this series, a rather injudicious shot that was played. And boy, oh boy, oh boy, are England cock a hoop. Played at it, but the edge was there, and that flies straight to Zach Crawley. It slips. It actually was going between Crawley and Duckett in the slips, but Crawley, standing over 6 feet tall, catching that quite perfectly, going to his left and plucking it out of thin air. And after a first ball boundary, a 5-ball innings of 4, Australia 4 for 1. Well, well, well. Immediately, Marnus Labuschagne comes out in the first over. Let's see how long he lasts against Stuart Broad. Kind of reminds me of an old joke that whenever Sunil Gavaskar would play against the West Indies, he'd normally open. One test, I believe he decided to come in at number 3 to allow someone else to open. But he ended up losing both opening batsmen without scoring and came in. And I think one of the bowlers sort of had a joke at his expense saying, "Hey man, doesn't matter when you come out to bat. Score is always 0. Apologies to my Caribbean friends. I mean, that was awful. Maybe I shouldn't do any accents from here on in. But already Marnus Labuschagne is at the crease, and he will be facing the last ball of Stuart Broad's over. Deep in discussion over there with, I think, who looks like Mark Wood. He'll certainly have a role to play, who's come in place of Josh Tongue. Labuschagne with an average of 54.63 after 41 games, 3,551 runs, 15 half centuries and 10 test centuries, a personal best of 215 against New Zealand in 2010. And already you can see a very attacking field set by Ben Stokes, and it's paid off wonderfully with Warner finding the edge and nicking off. And so this is going to be quite unsettling for Khawaja, who's lost his opening partner without having faced a ball himself. So last ball of the over, still 3 slips and a gully. And that is, I think there's a shout for an LBW, but that ended up being played to the onside. And Marnus Labuschagne is off the mark. And at the end of the first over, England are 5-4-1. And I'm just going to change the score right now. Whoops, not 1 overs. 1 over. And of course, this is the third Ashes test live from Headingley at Leeds. But we will, in the meantime, during the break, be providing you some updates from the championships over at Wimbledon, where some really intriguing matches will be taking place today. I do believe Djokovic is expected to be in action today alongside the defending women's champion, Elena Rybakina. And there's also some more cricket taking place in the form of the World Cup qualifiers. Scotland and the Netherlands are embroiled in a titanic battle to decide who will be joining Sri Lanka in the upcoming 50-over Cricket World Cup to be taking place in India later this year. And it is, in fact, Ollie Robinson who will be opening the bowling. And he'll be bowling to Marnus Labuschagne, who has just come in and gotten off the mark. I'm sure Labuschagne was not expecting to be in so early, but then that is the risk you take when you are batting 1 drop. And Joseph Edward Root, the Yorkshire boy, will know that only too well. Robinson, right arm over the wicket to the right-handed Labuschagne, who sort of defends that, and that is picked up easily by the by the cover fielder. And of course, I can never do any proper commentary without my diagram with the fielding positions, because I do not want to make any mistakes. Robinson again over the wicket to Labuschagne, and that is excellently played all the way to the square leg fielder, and he is able to send that back, and that will be yet another single. Usman Khawaja is now batting. 64 tests, 15 test hundreds, including the innings of 141 at Edgbaston. His personal best is an undefeated 195 against South Africa at Sydney in 2023. Very unlucky not to have been able to get a double century. Can he perhaps build on that? Over the wicket to the left-handed Khawaja. Still 3 slips of the gully, and Khawaja is able to defend at that, and that goes all the way back to near the bowler, and that is also fielded. So already England a cock-a-hoop. And do we have any more comments coming in? Well, it is Robinson once again over the wicket to Khawaja, trying to sort of bowl across the left-hander, but so far not quite able to induce any real discomfort, and that is prodded all the way back to the cover fielder. Actually, extra cover. Extra cover is basically the fielding position that is between cover and mid-off. And that is, in fact, a no ball. Ollie Robinson guilty. So once again over the wicket, and this is guided all the way to the square leg region by Khawaja. I mean, not so much square leg as backward point, really, and Moeen Ali running in to throw that back. So Khawaja off the mark. And so far, we haven't seen the short ball, but that's obviously because when the new ball is being taken, I believe because it seems a lot more, they're going to try and hope that Broad and Robinson bowling first up will try and get the ball to seam really well the way Broad did, inducing the edge. And they're certainly going to want more of that. Over the wicket to the right-handed Labuschagne, who defends that back to the bowler. Another dot ball. And then, of course, with Mark Wood expected to bowl in excess of 150 kilometers an hour and being able to really hit the deck, he can be expected to provide more of the short stuff. Chris Wokes is also back in the team, expected to possibly bowl second change. And he's in the team as an all-rounder of sorts. Only one test century, but he can certainly hold his own with the bat. And a beautiful delivery first up, which goes straight through to the wicketkeeper Bairstow. Sort of cleaned up Labuschagne there, but didn't really induce an edge. And at the end of 2 overs, the score is 8 for 1. And it is in England who are batting, for crying out loud. It is Australia who are batting. Well, let's see a few comments. Well, apparently Hanno's joined in. Good to have you, Bud. Apparently he called a 4 on the first ball. Big one. Yep, that mistake has been corrected. I do apologize. It was Stuart Broad who got David Warner out, Daz. And, yep, Hanno confirms that. So, it is Stuart Broad coming back in, bowling round the wicket to the left-handed Khawaja. No edge from Khawaja, but that is nicely played all the way to the cover fielder. And you can see Warner getting his positioning all wrong there with the bat, trying to look to play it, but only getting an edge and not being able to make the most of it. But as I've said, Australia are 8 for 1. They've lost a wicket, and Stuart Broad trying his best to gear up the Headingley crowd. Second delivery, and that goes harmlessly through to Johnny Bairstow behind the wicket. Talking about the head-to-head, Stuart Broad has bowled to David Warner, taken his wicket 16 times, an average of 26.5 per wicket with an economy rate of 3.17. So Warner's had his struggles continue. And was that played by Khawaja? Well, it looks as though it could very, very well be a leg by. I'm not too sure Khawaja got much on that. And that really sped all the way past Johnny Bairstow to the fine leg boundary. And that will be, yep, that is a leg by. Khawaja didn't get any bat on that. Yep, went straight past him. And Bairstow wasn't able to gather that. That just goes to show you how much the new ball really seems in these conditions. And when you bowl at Broad's pace, it's sort of, I wouldn't necessarily call it skiddy per se, but it does travel with speed. Round the wicket again to the left-hander Khawaja, who, he was probably hoping to do what Warner did and punch that past the extra cover fielder, but he was able to dive in. In fact, I do believe that he is now stationed at mid-off to prevent that 4 arriving, being punched down. Nope, he is still very much at extra cover. 2 deliveries left in this Broad over. He took a wicket of the 5th ball of the last over. No such luck this time around. That is punched beautifully down the ground all the way to the long off boundary for a boundary. Australia now 16 for 1 and chugging along quite nicely despite the loss of Warner. Rather healthy nick, you could say. And you can just take a look at the form that Khawaja is in right now. How he sees the ball, how he holds the bat, how he very rarely plays a loose shot to give his wicket away. It really has to be something really special to get his wicket. And that's how it proved with Josh Tongue. Last ball of the over, and Khawaja leaves that alone perfectly. That goes through to Bairstow, and after 3 overs, Australia are 16 for 1. 4-leg buys and a boundary for Usman Khawaja. And it just goes to show that once again the inefficiency curse strikes very early, but it is what it is. And we've got Hassan's Tech Review in the chat. Good to have you on board, mate. All good, all good, all good. What's up, Hanno? And some support for Broadsy, but we are back with proceeds at Headingley. Robinson has just bowled the first ball of his over, right arm over the wicket to the right-handed Labuschagne, who defends that, and that's a dot ball. The new ball is always dangerous on the first day. I've experienced it firsthand. Ooh, tell me more, tell me more. Did you get very far? A little Grease reference there. But seriously, I would like to know more about that if possible. And after a few overs, I will possibly put the link in the chat, and second delivery sort of swings away and goes straight through to Bairstow. I should say it seams away, really, because it's the seam positioning and the action of the ball on the seam that really characterizes the new ball when the bowling is opened first up. And interesting move to go with Broad and Robinson. I think they probably want Mark Wood to come in with a few bouncers at first change. And Labuschagne leaves that alone. Not for him will there be an injudicious shot which produces a nick. So at the end of this over, even if it's a maiden, Australia will still be going along at 4 and over, but it's still very early days. And a very expert leave there from Labuschagne, who's also batting outside his crease. Might want to be careful. Over the wicket to Labuschagne, who guides that all the way down past the mid-wicket fielder. And does that go to the mid-wicket boundary? Yes, it does. So Labuschagne gets his first boundary of the innings. And England need to be careful. This is a risk that England have. They can take a few early wickets, but they will also struggle if they do not get their line right. And you can see there that ball being pretty much pitched on middle and leg, and Labuschagne saying, "Bear dankie, but." Labuschagne, of course, was born in South Africa, but is now playing his cricket for Australia. And Stuart and Johnny Bairstow did not like that one bit. But it is back to business. 2 balls left in the Robinson over. And no real shout for an LBW there. That did sort of go into Labuschagne via a small nick from his bat. And so, despite the early loss of the wicket, Australia have now recovered well enough to start pinching some runs. Of course, though, when you are bowling, you just know that you need to take a few wickets and you end up getting the advantage. And the attacking field of 3 slips in the gully is still there. As I said, Daz, it could very well be Mark Wood who comes on at first change and not Chris Wokes, because Wood, of course, as we discussed on yesterday's show after the boundary, is expected to bowl in excess of about 150 kilometers an hour or thereabouts, and he will be expected also to bang it in short, hit the deck hard, and that's why he's in ahead of Josh Tongue today. So, Hassan's Tech Review. An under-16 Bangladesh cricket player, and also played test matches against the India and England under-16 teams. Good for you, mate. Wonderful to know that. Sadly, switched sports in 2021. Never an opener, and had been sent out first due to injuries. Injuries caused me to go into opening. Well, it is what it is. That's the struggle you have when you're a middle-order batsman but have to bat so early. Stuart Broad back in. Round the wicket to the left-handed Khawaja, who once again plays that to the cover region, and that is fielded for a single. And ooh, in my stupidity, I forgot to change the score. It is 20 for 1 after 4 overs. And I'm not sure the Australian captain Cummins will be very happy with Warner's early dismissal. But I do not agree that these will be Warner's last tests, because in the last 2 tests, he has been batting very well indeed. If he gets some low scores, it could very well be his last Ashes series. I don't necessarily see him lasting to the return series in Australia. Over the wicket to Labuschagne, a wonderful delivery, jagging back in, but missing the wicket completely, going through to Bairstow. You wish you were a spinner. It's not too difficult. It is going to be hard, but listen, I have to keep my focus. And I think I might start off a little bit rocky. And obviously, we started a bit late today, and I've had to get a few things organized. So I'll get my act together. That's more like it. Over the wicket, Labuschagne, who plays that once again all the way through mid-wicket. I don't think that'll go to the boundary, but they should be able to run for 2. And they are not going to run for 3 because I believe that's Ollie Robinson with the throw back in, and he does have a very strong arm. So we're going to see who comes in at first change. I predict it will be Wood. And let me tell you, that new ball did cause some serious havoc, swinging all over the place. Had to use unorthodox shots to get by and put some runs up. And of course, you would have had some buys when the ball got past you. And that is played along the ground, but the gully fielder picks it up quite well. So you can see that attacking field, and that is where you want to bowl. You want to pitch it on off and try and get an edge or force them to play a defensive shot. You could see over there that that was very well played. Instead of edging it and playing it in the air, what he did was he sort of used the face of the bat to guide that ball, hopefully trying to get it past the slip cord, past the cordon. And I'll tell you what, if that fielder had not been stationed there, that was going all the way to the boundary, off to the boundary, as it were. Yep, a workout indeed, a workout and a half. Once again, past the mid-wicket area. This time, this should have enough to go to the boundary because the fielder is not fast enough. Ollie Robinson giving chase, but he will end up losing, and that is another boundary. Ooh, a left-arm spinner. Wonderful. I'm also a left-arm spinner. I also do bowl some decent left-arm, medium, fastish pace, but spin is more of my thing. I'm also a lower-order batsman. And a question for you, Hassan, was that the Duke ball that you were facing? And so once again, we see the bowlers straying in line, and when they stray in line and end up pitching middle and leg, it's meat and drink for these Australian batsmen. Yeah, what he was saying was that he wanted to know what ball you were facing when you were batting. Was that the Duke ball? Was that the Kookaburra? What type of ball was that you were facing? Last ball of the over. And that is allowed to go straight through harmlessly to Bairstow. And after 5 overs, Australia are actually chugging along very well at 27 for 1. So the early wicket of David Warner has actually galvanized the Australian team into batting more sensibly and taking advantage of some very poor English deliveries. We've heard of Bazball. Could this be Mac Ball, named after the Australian coach, Andrew McDonald? We'll see. He's certainly no Ronald McDonald, that's for sure. And there's no Big Mac in this Australian team. There was, of course, a little Mac for New Zealand, who is now coaching England. Robinson back into the attack. Over the wicket to Khawaja, inducing an edge, but it doesn't carry to the slip cordon. And there are now, I believe, 4 slips in the gully. So obviously what Robinson is trying to do now is sort of bowl the ball right-handed, which goes sort of across the left-handed batsman from leg 2 off, try and induce an edge. And that is, of course, where Khawaja has shown some weakness in the past. Zach Crawley, Ben Duckett, Harry Brook. Oh my goodness, 4 slips in a gully. This is outrageous, but there's no cover on legs. So, Ollie, you're going to have to bowl to your field, son. And that goes straight through to Bairstow. Khawaja says, you're not going to get me playing a stupid shot, mate. I am going to let it go through. And this is why Test cricket is so intriguing, because it's very much a tactical, strategical battle. And we're really happy to be bringing you coverage of these sessions of play as they are taking place. Of course, it's really only one session that we're bringing you, and we could possibly bring you the evening session if we can. Third delivery of the over. Over the wicket to the left-handed Khawaja, who plays at that. Thinking of a single, but Labuschagne says no. And the cover fielder speeds in and mops that up. Three deliveries left. What will Ollie do? Over the wicket to the left-handed Khawaja. And once again, inducing an edge, but not quite carrying. That goes to gully. And so this is really decent play from Khawaja, because the way he sort of holds his bat, you can see it's sort of declining in its angle, as I've said many times. So you're not going to see him induce any edge, which will carry through to the fielder. And really smart bit of batting there from Khawaja, who obviously is of the school of thought that if you can't score, at least don't give your wicket away. Like Warner, he is naturally right-handed, but bats left-handed. Second to last ball, and an appeal for an LBW shout. And the umpire is clearly not interested. Going to take a look and see who the umpires are today. We've got the former Sri Lankan off-spinner Kumar Dharmasena and Nitin Menon from India, who are the umpires on the field. The TV umpire is Joel Wilson from the West Indies. And just taking a look at this delivery again, it might have been the height that wasn't in Ollie's favour. They've opted not to review. And even Stokes is suggesting, yep, a bit too high. Last ball of the over. And Khawaja lets that go through. And obviously, Robinson has decided to stay over the wicket and not really allow Australia any real opportunities to score. So it's a maiden over for Ollie Robinson. And after 6 overs, Australia are 27 for 1, going on quite swimmingly at a rate of 4.5 an over. Because 27 divided by 6 is 4, with a remainder of 3. 3 divided by 6 is 1/2. And that's how you do quick arithmetic in your head. Some more comments. Try and read them if I can. Well, at the moment, going to find out who's coming on. Could we see the first change bowler? The wicket seems to be quite hard, Daz, and I think obviously England winning the toss, wanting to bowl. Cummins himself said that if he won the toss, he would have bowled first. But, yep, it is a first change, and it looks as though it is Mark Wood who will be coming on to bowl. Hassan, I will get to your comments in a minute. Yep, it is Wood who is coming on to bowl. Over the wicket to the right-handed Labuschagne, and that swung a mile. And this is why I think Wood coming on at first change is a terrific option. Beautiful seam position, moved away wonderfully to the off, and Labuschagne was best advised to leave that alone, and that is exactly what he did. And as I said, Daz, it is Wood bowling at first change, number 33, the same number that Chris Tremlett wore for England. Second delivery over the wicket to the right-handed Labuschagne. And this is excellent, excellent stuff now, because what that maiden over and what these two deliveries from Wood have done is that they've now told Australia, we're not giving you any cheap runs. We're going to keep coming at you and coming at you hard. You better come back at us if you think you're hard enough. So I think when Broad and Anderson retire, Mark Wood definitely looks set to, be the opening bowler for England for many years to come. The speed he generates is absolutely magnificent. But coming in at first change, 6 overs bowled, and that is quite fast, but that's been allowed to go to the wicketkeeper. I don't think that will be called a wide. Nope, it pitched on off and just went straight through. And he is not a very pleasant bowler to face. And I think, Hassan, if you're watching Mark Wood bowl, I think all those flashbacks of you facing those opening bowlers are just coming back right now. I understand that you don't really like the Bazball thing. It has brought about some really, really good wins, but I wonder if England are starting to be found out now. Once again, Wood to Labuschagne. And that will be allowed to go past the wicketkeeper, straight to the boundary, and leg byes is the call. Labuschagne not getting any bat on that. It did go off his pad, and you can see the seed movement over there is just wild with that new ball. Yep, off his pad. And Bairstow sort of getting a glove to that, but instead of catching it, he ends up sending it all the way to the third man boundary for another 4 runs. And so Australia know that if England try too hard, they will end up conceding a few runs. 2 deliveries left in the over. And that is well played, but straight to the cover fielder. And I believe that's Stuart Broad with his long white hat. Yes, it is. And Australia going on at a very healthy rate of over 4 and over. And I think one thing which Bazball has done is that it has obviously changed the approach to cricket that teams now employ. They will definitely look to score a lot more runs off bad balls. Last ball of the over. Right arm over the wicket to the right-handed Labuschagne, and that was a snorter, which was sort of defended with a sort of an upward stroke. Just the 4 byes from that over. Terrifying stuff, really, from Wood, but Australia survive and fight on, and in fact, they are 4 more runs to the good. 31 for 1 after 7 overs, and I will get back to your comments now. The Duke ball's costing about the same as an Arsenal kit. Not too sure about that. But again, the new ball does work as magic if you're a bowler. Picked up your first ever wicket that way. And absolutely, the swing is nice. The swing actually takes place a lot more when the ball's a little bit older. So especially if one side is old and one is new, you can definitely get some good reverse swing going on. And terrifying memories for Hassan, but also some wonderful memories. Had his maiden century while playing against England, ending the score that day with 365 for 9. Very well done indeed. And just come back to the action. Robinson has just bowled the first ball of his 4th over. Across Khawaja, but harmlessly through to Bairstow. Broad has been given a bit of a rest. Not too sure why. I would definitely have kept Broad and Wood bowling, but you might expect a few snorters from Ollie Robinson very, very soon. Second delivery of the over. Still that attacking field. Still going across Khawaja and still going straight through to Bairstow. Test cricket at its best is really a game of chess. And it's basically a case of who can hold their nerve a lot more. Third delivery of the over. And that is very well played, but straight to the extra cover fielder. I mean, not extra cover, that is actually mid-wicket. And so this is much better from England in terms of keeping the bowling tight. Still conceding a few runs through byes, though. Fourth delivery of the over. Over the wickets of the left-handed Khawaja, who once again lets that go through to Bairstow. And I do understand that a lot of fans watching cricket for the first time will be bored at the repetitive nature of certain deliveries. Obviously, it's very formulaic at times, but you can have some moments where you get surprised. Yeah, the pace is terrifying. 140, 150 kph feels like you're relying on your reflexes and having to guess correctly all the time. Couldn't have said it better, Bhargav. And Khawaja once again defensively prods that back to the mid-wicket fielder. And take a look at that for a field setting. A wicket keeper, 4 slips and a gully. Hoping to get the edge, but Khawaja does not do edges. Or does he? Punched back, but the fielder fields it. And is that the over? Yep, it is the over. Another maiden for... I'll get to your question, Daz, in a minute. But at the moment, at the end of 8 overs, Australia are 31 for 1. The run rate now dipping just under 4, but they're still perfectly fine. 7 overs now, having not lost a wicket. And I think I made it crystal clear, Daz, that there were 4 slips in the gully, sort of kept together, a very, very attacking offside field, but not that much in terms of cover on the leg side, with the exception of maybe a mid-wicket fielder. And so far, this time around, Khawaja and Labuschagne have not been able to pierce that onside field yet. Wood back into the attack, and once again, some absolutely outrageous banana-like swinging of the ball there. I mean, that is quite simply brilliant if you can keep that under control. But that seam position from Wood over there, oh boy, oh boy, oh boy. What a bowler this guy is. Of course, Labuschagne doesn't really have to do very much except just let that go by. But it is terrifying, you see. Classic outswing bowling at Headingley. Once again, running in. And that is an absolute snorter, which Labuschagne has to fend off. And I believe now there are only 3 slips in the gully, but there is also a leg slip fielder. And, yep, he definitely can, Zane. He can. With that pace, he can definitely smash a few fingers as well. Labuschagne's lucky to have all his fingers at the moment. Bazball might be better for the crowd, and if you have some correct players like Pujara and Smith, that would make England terrifying. Well, England do have Joe Root, you know, to be fair. Once again, swinging away from Labuschagne, third ball of the over. And Labuschagne well content to play the waiting game. Certainly not willing to labour, but he's definitely not willing to give his wicket away. And you can also see last delivery over there, 96.5 miles an hour, definitely over 150. So at that pace and with that much swing, boy, oh boy, oh boy, what a call it was to bring Wood back in, and how much was he missed by England in the first 2 tests. And once again, an absolutely gorgeous delivery, closer to the batsman, but swinging away from him. The wicketkeeper and the slip fielders were appealing for an edge, but it was a rather half-hearted appeal. Once again, that seam position really is doing so much damage, and that had Labuschagne beaten all ends up, but fortunately for him, it did not take the edge. I mean, no discredit to Josh Tongue, who did a really good job for England, but you can see right now the speeds this over, 93, 95, 96, 95, all in miles per hour, mind you. So this guy is really, really, really ferocious. 2 balls left. And that is once again played, but this time straight to the cover fielder. And so this is good field settings right now from Ben Stokes, because you can see that he's got 3 slips. I mean, 4 slips now, what looks like, and also a gully. The gully now standing further away from the slips. And it's still that very attacking offside field. So this is really good stuff. Bowling to his field, not straying on middle and leg, and really forcing the batsman to think. Well, that one was sort of pitched on middle, but at that pace, it was never going to be guaranteeing any runs. So that's another maiden for England. And they and Australia are being, silenced a little bit. Of course, Test cricket is played on a session-by-session basis, and it does go for 5 days. So not too sure that there are many people who will have the patience to sit through an entire day's play, much less 3 or 5. But this is Test cricket for you. Some of the best action that you can possibly get. And good to see you again, Hassan. Thanks a lot for coming on. Hope to see you back soon. And wouldn't get a man close to the wicket. Short leg or silly point. That really only would work if there's a spinner. If you got a fast bowler bowling, I think having a short leg or a silly point would be quite dangerous. Now there's Chris Wokes, who will now give Ollie Robinson some rest. He will be coming on as the second change bowler. Once again, a packed offside field for Khawaja, but no real leg side cover. But that means Wokes has now got to bowl to that field. Square leg is very vacant and ripe for singles. And the first ball, right arm over the wicket to the left-handed Khawaja, trying to play that to square leg, but only ending up, didn't actually miss the ball, but didn't really quite execute it that well. And hoping to just sort of play that to square leg, but completely, just getting the timing mucked up. But, completely packed offside field. Only 2 leg side fielders. One at, was there an edge? Well, it didn't even go to the slip. That actually went all the way to the point fielder. Yeah, enjoy your time with your girlfriend, Hassan, and I hope to see you back again very soon. Test cricket is the best. Something great about batsmen surviving onslaughts and bowlers tirelessly being able to hit some good lengths. And that is beautifully punched back down the ground. The first runs after a very long time. Wokes has now been hit for a boundary, which has been sent all the way to the long off area, and Khawaja now moves from 6 to 10. So some welcome respite there. It wasn't necessarily a bad delivery, but Khawaja got into position perfectly, played that straight back down, taking advantage of the very liberal field settings, with batsmen more hoping for an edge. And you can also see that there's some rainbow colours on the wicket in support of the Rainbow Laces campaign. So well done to England's players for that. Fourth delivery of the over going across Khawaja, but harmlessly going through to Bairstow. Wokes, of course, in for Anderson, who's been dropped. Anderson not really been able to, find his best form in the first 2 tests. So hopefully these bold changes will reap dividends. And that is played straight through to the mid-off fielder. So no runs there. And, I'm in 2 minds about this 9-2, about this 8-2 offside field, of course. Actually, 7-2, rather, with the wicketkeeper and the bowler. But, it forces bowlers to really rein themselves in, perhaps. And batsmen, in turn, are going to have to be very disciplined. in terms of letting shots go, just like Khawaja did for that one. And at the end of the 10th over, Australia are 35 for 1, 3.5 and over. Not too shabby, not too shabby. But they also know that they're being given a thorough examination by England's bowlers. And will there be some encouragement for Australia's bowlers when they come on to bowl? There is no Josh Hazlewood. There is Scott Boland. Mitchell Marsh could possibly bowl some seam. Stark and Cummins, of course, are expected to open the bowling. And then, of course, you've got Todd Murphy coming on for some off spin, along with Travis Head and Steve Smith as part-time options. Mark Wood now back into the attack. He's bowled 2 overs, both of them maidens. Australia have not fancied their chances against him. Bit of a cold virus going on around my neck of the woods. Steaming in his wood. And that is fended all the way to the mid-wicket fielder. So this is really a good examination for Labuschagne and Khawaja. So far, I don't think Wood has had to bowl to Khawaja, and I do wonder what his strategy will be. But Labuschagne at the moment is doing a really good job by keeping his end up and not really being induced into playing any ridiculous shots. Once again, it is that pesky 7-2 offside field. And so this is really good captaincy and field settings by Ben Stokes. Although, of course, it is the bowler who makes the demands. And there is, in fact, a short leg. So, Daz, I hope that answers your question. There is a short leg now, which has just been brought in. So, hoping to, snaffle up a catch, which might result from Labuschagne trying to fend that to leg. And this time around, with this delivery, he ends up fending that in a way to the off, where silly point would be. Hit him on the back leg. Too high for an LBW shout, maybe. Yep, definitely too high for an LBW shout. And, ooh, that was painful. It's Harry Brook who's standing there at forward short leg. And that goes high, bounces really high, bounces over everyone, and that will be 4 byes. And that is a risk which, you take when you're bowling at that particular speed. Unless you're able to get that, really under control, you will leak a few runs. So far, Wood has conceded 8 byes, but because they aren't really counted towards his, runs conceded, scored off the bat from him, it doesn't really affect his figures. He's still, so far, bowled 2 maidens. Could it be 3? Two deliveries left. We're going to find out. Right arm over the wicket to the right-handed Labuschagne. And, ooh, another beautiful delivery which sort of cleaned him up, went right through him, but it didn't clean up his stumps. Went straight through to Bairstow. And Joe Root, of course, enjoying that display of bowling from Wood. England's longest serving captain and England's most successful captain with 27 wins, but criticised in the latter part of his captaincy for being far too defensive. And at one point, of course, England couldn't even buy a test win. Now under Stokes, it's been, sort of a breath of fresh air, but these last 2 tests have raised questions about the potential future of Bazball. We will discuss that after this delivery. And an LBW shout, half-hearted really, probably going a little bit too high. And at the end of the 11th over, Australia are 39 for 1. So yet another maiden for Mark Wood, but he has also conceded 4 more byes. And I'm not going to be one of those pessimists who will say that Bazball should now be scrapped completely, but because there are some elements of Bazball which are really good. I mean, only really focusing on hitting the bad balls and trying to be aggressive from the get-go. Controlled aggression is what's key. You can't try and play a reverse sweep on every single ball. You can't simply look to charge the off spinner, especially too often, especially if you run the risk of getting out stumped. And, sometimes you've got to be pragmatic in Test cricket. You need to find that balance. And if England can do that, then they will still be a force to be reckoned with, regardless of the outcome of this series. Chris Woakes back into the attack. First over was hit for a boundary by Khawaja. And this time around, the mid-off fielder ensures that there will be no more of those shenanigans. Once again, over the wicket to Khawaja, but what a sign it is of how hard Khawaja has worked on his game that he so far hasn't given any real chances. And bowling across Khawaja, trying to induce an edge would normally be a way to get him out, but he's found a way to work beyond that. Over the wicket again to the left-handed Khawaja. And once again, the mid-off fielder does his job and mops up quite nicely. Thank you. Still an attacking offside field. No short leg or silly point for Khawaja, though. We're going to see if Woakes earns some success here. And that is played all the way to the square leg region, but that will only be for a single. Not really square leg. I believe that's a backward point now who mops that up. And that takes Australia to 40 for 1. And I'm just watching the replay of the Warner dismissal. That was flying through, but Zach Crawley there with his big bucket hands reaching across, plucking that out of the air, and Warner would have been disgusted with himself as he walked off the field. I am, of course, getting coverage courtesy of Sky Sports through the Sony Sports Network over here in India. So on the telly, it's Nasser Hussain and Owen Morgan who are doing the commentary. But as far as you're concerned, you're in the company of yours truly. Two deliveries left once again over the wicket, but this time to the right-handed Labuschagne, who allows that to go through to the wicketkeeper. And if Labuschagne does not score a single, it means that Usman Khawaja will have the pleasure of facing Mark Wood. And it will be very interesting to see how well he deals with that searing pace and swing. Last delivery of Woakes is over. And that hits Labuschagne quite high. No danger of an LBW shout. So at the end of the 12th over, Australia are now 40 for 1. This is a really, really good contest. We've had 12 overs of some very probing fast bowling, which has asked all sorts of questions. Warner might have failed his examination, but so far Labuschagne and Khawaja have answered all questions that have been asked of them. And it'll be very interesting to see what Mark Wood does. And we see a contrast here with Labuschagne back in his crease while facing Mark Wood, but outside his crease while facing Ollie Robinson. Wood could get some LBWs if he can keep it down, absolutely. Don't know about Wokes. Maybe Tongue should have been kept. Wokes is actually a replacement for Anderson, but I do agree that maybe Tongue should have been kept. I think they wanted to talk about balance of the squad and the team and try and keep the batting order as long as possible. But it is Wood, and he will be bowling to the left-handed Usman Khawaja. Will it be over the wicket or around the wicket, though? It looks like it could be Yep, still over the wicket to the left-handed the left-handed Usman Khawaja, who lets that go through to the wicketkeeper. And I want to sort of go back to this comment of yours, Pargav. He might need to keep it down. He might need to just sort of, look to pitch it up and just try and pitch it fuller if he can. Because if he pitches it fuller, he can get LBWs, he can get an edge. So far, everything just seems to be going a little bit, high and not so handsome, if you know what I mean. Second delivery of the over. Once again, over the wicket to Khawaja. And Khawaja playing that quite well defensively, sort of tapping it back to Wood in a way. 20 overs before Moeen comes on. We could see Moeen coming on maybe even sooner than that if Australia feel that they need a wicket. But we'll see what happens. It could very well be that, England are going to try and make the most of their most of this pitch in the first few overs, but they will also want another wicket. And certainly not going to get that with Khawaja ducking out of the way of another rising delivery. And as I said, Wood really needs to start pitching it up a bit, pitching it further up and really causing the batsman some problem, because a well-pitched up delivery will cause you a great deal of trouble, especially with that seam position and movement of the ball. Wood again, steaming in. And Khawaja allowing that to go through to Bairstow once again. Both Labuschagne and Khawaja have taken up in excess of 30 balls each to score just 11. So this is really Test cricket at its best. It's a game of chess. And of course, if you enjoy playing chess, you get your kicks above the waistline, sunshine. Hashtag one night in Bangkok. Well, I know that Pargav was waiting for Khawaja to miss one of those swingers, but this time he plays that quite beautifully to the point boundary for a couple. Didn't really time that well enough, otherwise that would definitely have gone for a boundary, but a nice way to, release the tension, and those are the first runs that have been scored off Wood from the bat. So that's kind of... tarnished his figures a little bit. No maiden this time around. Still, 3 out of 4 is not bad at all. Thank you very much indeed. And of course, because Khawaja is left-handed, it would effectively be an away swinger, but... Oh! You called it, Pargav. You called it. A beautiful in-swinger pitched on middle, but which took Khawaja's leg stump away. Last ball of the over. Wood was not happy at being hit for 2, and that was an absolute peach of a delivery, which really swung back in and castled Khawaja. Moving in, Khawaja completely missing that. He'll be disappointed with that shot, but in reality, the ball was just too quick and too sharp for him. And so at the end of the 13th over, Australia have lost both of their openers and are now 42 for 2, and England are cock-a-hoop. Mark Wood coming back into the team. What a masterstroke that is. And so Khawaja goes for 13. Not really fared much better than Warner, but at least he tried keeping an end up. And Australia now 42 for 2, and that brings out the former Australian captain, current Australian vice-captain, but more importantly, batter supreme, Stephen Peter Devereux-Smith, who is, of course, playing test number 100 today. Already crossed the 9,000 run mark, I believe. I don't remember if he has, though. Let's take a look and see. Leg stump flattened. There was actually an inside edge which took it onto the leg stump. And we called it. He had to start pitching fuller, 94.6 miles an hour. Beautiful seam, shaping in a fraction of a middle and off. And Khawaja drove hard, but there was a huge gap between bat and pad. Inside edge, flattening leg stump. And that is what express pace will do to you. So, Mark Wood's figures read 4 overs, 3 maidens, 2 runs and a wicket. 4, 3, 2, 1. Nice little countdown there. And as I've said, it is Stephen Peter Devereux-Smith who is out to bat. He'll probably have a more comforting introduction as he faces Chris Woakes. And yes, he has indeed crossed the 9,000 run barrier. About to play his 100th test with 9,113 runs to his credit. Nearly 5,000 ODI runs and just over 1,000 T20 international runs. Nearly 14,000 first-class runs too. But first class includes tests. What a career this man has had. An average close to 60, phenomenal. A best of 239 against England at Perth in 2017. A Nationals double century. Rarely gets better than that. And England looking for a second new ball here. Gonna have to see. Mark Wood absolutely enjoying that wicket. Khawaja, of course, has been in fine form so far, but that was an absolute peach of a delivery. Didn't quite get him plumb. And of course, if he had missed it and hit his pad, it would probably have gone on to hit leg stump anyway. Or at least middle, because let's not forget it was the inside edge that took it on to leg stump. So Khawaja done for by the fast pitched up delivery. Maybe not so much a Yorker, but definitely pitched up well. And that just goes to show that as a fast bowler, you want to really pitch it up and not pitch it short of the length, because when you pitch it further, you will induce an edge. You'll get more prodigious swing, and you can certainly get an LBW or more bowled or more wickets being bowled. And yep, deserved. But then now come the difficult ones. Travis Head and Steve Smith have killed England. They do travel well. First ball from Woakes, and Steve Smith plays that quite nonchalantly, if you will, past the cover fielder. And does that go to the boundary? Yes, it does. So Steve Smith's way of saying, keep your trousers on, boys. You've still got to deal with me. And Woakes might very well be targeted as a bit of a weakling because, yep, straight past cover. And I think Broad tried to make amends by running after it, but couldn't quite get it. Actually, that was Labuschagne who scored that. My bad. With Khawaja, of course, facing the last delivery, it meant that Labuschagne was on strike. So good shot there from the South African-born Australian batsman. Steve Smith, of course, yet to face the ball. We're going to see how well he does against Mark Wood. Second delivery from Woakes, allowed to go through to the wicketkeeper. Slight seam away from the batsman. And Labuschagne just playing a watch and wait game. And Ben Stokes will be absolutely chuffed with the 2 wickets, but he will definitely like a few more. Still staying true to the attacking instinct and keeping that packed offside field. What will be interesting is, I think you've mentioned, Pargav. Well, I mean, when you're part of the test team, obviously, I'm assuming that they do use the same package, if that answers your question. And that is defended well, back to the bowler. And it will be interesting to see if, as you've said, oh boy. Yeah, I changed it. I don't know why it wasn't reflected, but I mean, that wicket itself is an absolute joy to watch again and again and again. And this is why England dropped Josh Tongue. No disrespect to Josh, but Wood is the real deal. And that delivery once again goes through to the wicketkeeper. No real dangers there. Ugh. Two deliveries left from Wokes, and Labuschagne dabs that all the way to the area between square leg and mid wicket for a single. And that brings Stephen Peter Devereux Smith on strike to face the final ball of Wokes' over. I think Wood will almost certainly be asked to continue, but the way he bowls, he could also be asked to just bowl a short spell of a few overs and then come back in case England need a wicket. Once again, a very attacking offside field, and that is played back towards the bowler. So Labuschagne will be facing the next over, and after 14 overs, Australia are 47 for 2. And of course, this will be the first session of play today, and we will be ending as soon as the players go off for lunch. The big problem with all of these fast bowlers bowling is that it does affect the over rate with the long run-ups and the field changes and so forth. And apparently Wood has indeed been given a rest because Ollie Robinson is coming back into the attack. Now, I'm not too sure why Stokes has opted to take Wood out, unless, as I've said, he wants to give Wood a rest. And first ball to Labuschagne sort of goes into Labuschagne, but there's no threat of an LBW shout. Right arm over the wicket to the right-handed batsman. And so after the two left-handed openers, we've got two right-handed middle-order batsmen. Was there an edge? Probably hit Smith on his bottom hand. So there wouldn't have been much hope of an LBW shout. And that is once again expertly tucked away on the leg side all the way to the area between square leg and mid wicket. Australia 48 for 2. Still going on at a reasonably healthy rate of just above 3 and over. And Australia are finding runs hard to come by. But it will remain to be seen if Australia can find similar success. And Smith facing a second ball, trying to get off the mark there, but an attempted almost half flick, half shot to mid wicket is snapped up by the mid wicket fielder. Dot ball. Because, I mean, with Steve Smith having not faced the ball, why you would not want to keep Mark Wood bowling is beyond me. Maybe to give Wood a rest, I'm not too sure. That's the only reason I can think of. And Smith is finally off the mark with a single played to cover. Stuart Broad rushing in, trying to run out Labuschagne, but not able to do so, completely missing the stumps. And I don't think, given how well Labuschagne ran, he would have been out if that had hit. Although replays might... Nope. Excellent running between the wickets from Labuschagne and Smith, but maybe this angle will tell us something different. Grounding the bat in time, and Labuschagne was home and dry. Two balls left in this Robinson over, and that fifth delivery is allowed to go straight through to Johnny Bairstow. Yeah, looks as though Robinson's been no-balled, so that's the 50 up for Australia in the 15th over. Nice delivery, jagging back in, but completely missing the wicket and going through to the wicketkeeper. Last delivery of the over. Over the wicket to the right-handed Labuschagne. And he lets that go. And at the end of the 15th over, Australia are 50 for 2. And a nice rate of 3.333333333333333333 all the way to eternity at an over. So, as you said, Pargav, we should see spin coming into the attack fairly soon. The only question is when. It is Chris Wokes back into the attack. Over the wicket to to Smith, who actually plays that back. And Smith trying to get himself settled in. Already has a single. And I will actually head over to the BBC Sport page very soon to try and provide you some updates from Wimbledon if I can. But so at the moment, we are focusing on the cricket. And that second delivery is allowed to go straight through to the wicketkeeper. Once again, quite harmless. And an update is that Scotland have set a target of 278 for the Netherlands. If they can defend that target successfully, they will be through to the World Cup. Would love it if England and Scotland would be in the same group. And will that be called a wide? Strangely not. Pitched on middle, going all the way down leg. Unfortunately for Chris Wokes, it didn't go for any buys because Bairstow was able to gather that. Yeah, we'll give you some updates from Wimbledon in a minute. And that is nicely played by Steve Smith all the way to the mid-wicket fielder, running a single very quickly, trying to chance the arm. And Labuschagne once again responding with some excellent running between the wickets. But I'll tell you what, that did look closer. That did look closer than the last single that Steve Smith took. And Smith is not doing Labuschagne any favours, it must be said. But in any case, the throw towards the stumps was missed. Labuschagne will be key, 17 off 47. He's kept himself settled, not played any stupid shots, and ooh, what a delivery that was. Jagging right back in, over the stumps. Could have, hit the top of middle and off, but in the end it quite didn't. Some wonderful seam position there from Wokes, and I'll tell you what, that was not far away from hitting the wicket at all. Bairstow gathering that. Last ball of Chris Wokes is over. And that goes through to the wicketkeeper. And at the end of 16 overs, Australia are 51 for 2. Now I'll give you some updates from Wimbledon. I can tell you right now that another match which is scheduled to start today is Andy Murray against 5th seed Stefanos Tsitsipas. Tsitsipas, of course, yesterday coming through an absolute cliffhanger against Dominic Thiem in the first round. He will be playing in the third match on centre court. I wonder if the Greek 5th seed will have much energy against the Scottish legend, who will be playing in front of a very supportive centre court crowd. At the moment, more British interest in the form of Jan Choinski up against Polish 17th seed Hubert Hurkacz. Hurkacz is up a set and a break in the second set, just taken that break, so he should be able to get a 2-set to love lead, but it hasn't been a bad match from the Brit by any means. And British number 1, Katie Boulter taking on Victoria Tomova in the third match on court 12. And Elena Svitolina also in action. A set apiece against Mertens, but she is 3-0 up in the decider. Robinson back into the attack. Already bowled one. The second ball also allowed to go through to the wicketkeeper. And of course, other matches on centre court will include Elena Rybakina playing against the French woman Cornet. Casper Ruud up against another Brit in Brody. Alexander Zverev from Germany playing on court number 1. Sloane Stephens to follow, and Jessica Pegula to follow there. The number 2 court has been known as the graveyard of the seeds, and with good reason. Svitolina lost the second set 6-1, but she is up 3-0 in the third. So Andrei Rublev to follow, along with the likes of Daniel Medvedev and the Swiss Bencic. And Stanislav Wawrinka a set apiece against the Argentinian Echeverry. And nothing much else after that. And this over so far has gone through with no real fuss. Smith allowing everything to sort of go past him, nonchalantly, as it were. Robinson to finish off this over with 2 deliveries. And Smith once again playing that to the mid-wicket fielder, but this time no shy at the stumps. So Smith dealing quite nicely in singles all the way to either cover or mid-wicket. And Labuschagne also playing a tough hand there. And I just wonder if maybe Wood couldn't have been asked to bowl an extra over with Steve Smith having just come to the crease. For all the talk about brave cricket, Stokes is probably being a little bit too conservative here. Another 2 overs would have done a world of good, in my opinion. Last ball of Ollie Robinson's over, and no real shout for an LBW there. And at the end of the 17th over, Australia are 52 for 2, so it's a maiden for Robinson. Not a maiden, actually. There was a single taken, my bad. And this is how play is. So I'm going to have to nip off for a little bit, but I will rejoin you in 60 seconds. And I am back, ladies and gentlemen. 2 deliveries from Chris Wokes is over. The scorers slightly troubled with Smith taking another single, 53 for 2. And an appeal for an LBW, but that was probably going down leg. Nitin Menon not really interested in that. And I think Ben Stokes, does he decide to review it? The DRS timer is up. Nah, he's probably saying, yeah, it sort of was rising a little bit and probably going down leg. I really don't think would have troubled them very much. I don't even know why the DRS timer was put up in the first place anyway. 4th delivery of the over. And that is nicely played defensively. So in the passage of play that was there while I was out, I missed a single from Steve Smith. He's now on 4 runs off 13. The original decision, of course, was not out, pitching outside the off and hitting him in line, but going on to miss leg stump. Nitin Menon was never going to be swayed by that decision. Swayed by that. And sort of slipping out of Wokes' hand there, going down leg. I'm not too sure that will be called a wide. And no, it won't. So 1 delivery left in the over. Could very well have been damaged. I'm not sure Wood would be to blame for that. And Marnus could very well be a candidate for LBW. In fact, there was a shout against him in this over. Warner and Khawaja are, of course, the man out, and 95-mile-an-hour swing. Brett Lee would have been proud of that. 2005, what a series that was. And at the end of the 18th over, Australia are 53 for 2. The run rate has just dipped under 3 and over, but the most important thing is that apart from the openers, they haven't lost their wickets. So this is going to be once again, I completely missed the number of overs bowled. But yeah, so as soon as the 20th over is bowled, I will copy the link and put it in the chat. If there are any of you who'd like to come on and just have a bit of a chin wag with me until the end of the session, be my guest. I believe we do have about half an hour's worth of play before the end of the session. It is Ollie Robinson back in once again with that attacking offside field. And I'm not too sure why they were appealing to umpire Dharmasena for something. Were they appealing for a possible edge to the wicketkeeper? I'm not too sure. And once again, the DRS timer is up, but there is no review. And so with the vice-captain Ollie Pope out, it will be interesting to see who will be... well, I think they might have been appealing for an LBW shot because of a slight tickle on the batsman's pad. And even Steve Smith is seeing the funny side of that, saying, "You cannot be serious." Second delivery of the over the wicket to the right-handed Smith, and he lets that harmlessly go through to the wicketkeeper. And as I've said, there will be about half an hour's play left before lunch is taken at 1 p.m. local time. So once again, if any of you want to come on and have a bit of a chin wag with me, be my guest. You are always welcome. And of course, if a wicket is taken before the end of lunch, then lunch will be before the end of the session, then lunch will be taken immediately after that because there won't be any time for a changeover. But should be at least 5 or 6 overs left, give or take. We'll find out. Could very well be the spin is brought on early to speed up the over rate. Third delivery. And that goes through Smith, through the wicketkeeper, and that will be 4 byes. Actually, it won't be 4 byes because Smith, in fact, did get an edge to that. So the Australian vice-captain is quite lucky because with that edge, if Bairstow had snapped that up, Australia would be 3 down. Clear edge. Did Bairstow get glove to it? Yes, he did, but that was just past him. Edge of the glove, not good enough. Not really looking like catching it, maybe. I think maybe a wicketkeeper with longer arms would have snapped that up. And Stokes trying to give Bairstow a bit of encouragement. Both captain and wicketkeeper know that should have been taken. That'll bring the run rate back up above 3. DR, thank you very much indeed, mate. Wonderful to have you on with us. And like I said, if you or anyone else wants to come on, be my guest. I'll put the link in the chat. In fact, I might just put the link in the chat after this over's over, because it will be 19 overs done. And that is played all the way to point. No run taken. And so recap of the wickets to fall. And then edge induced by Stuart Broad from David Warner. The 16th time he's taken his wicket. And an absolute peach of a delivery. Pitched up, full and fast. Inside edge onto leg stump. And that accounted for Usman Khawaja. But so far, Labuschagne and Smith have held fort admirably. And Smith will definitely see that through to the end of the over. At the end of the 19th over, Australia are 57 for 2. Exactly 3 and over. And I think there should be about 5 or 6 overs left before the end of the day's play. And with that, here is the link which has been entered into the chat. Any of you watching, if you just want to click the link and come on into the studio and have a bit of a chin wag with me, by all means, go right ahead. But for the moment, this is I keep changing it, and it still doesn't keep reflecting. I think StreamYard sometimes gives me a lot of problems. Wokes back into the attack. First delivery goes through to the wicketkeeper, Bairstow. And little update from the Scotland-Netherlands game. The Netherlands are doing quite well at 39 for no loss after 6 overs. Vikramjit Singh and Max O'Dowd so far not having any problems. In fact, they've dealt with the pace of Chris Soule and Brandon McMullen quite well. And second delivery, a bit awkwardly played, a sort of a false edge which goes straight to the third man boundary, and that is 4 runs for Marnus Labuschagne. So that takes Australia to 61 for 2. And Wokes is perhaps a little bit unlucky there, trying to play that to the onside, only succeeding in getting that through the off, but the edge was fine enough to take it all the way past the slip and gully fielders, and Harry Brook had no chance of getting that. So Marnus Labuschagne moves on to 21 off 57 deliveries. And there's an edge, and Labuschagne has gone this time. And you just had that feeling that the way Labuschagne plays, he's not exactly the most comfortable, really, at the crease. Wokes asking all sorts of questions, and Labuschagne had been doing well, but it was a brilliant delivery which had to be played. Labuschagne only succeeding in getting an edge to Joe Root, who is now England's all-time leader in catches and also probably the among the most prolific fielders in world cricket today. 58 balls for Marnus Labuschagne's 21, and Australia in a huge spot of bother at 61 for 3, with 19.3 overs having been bowled. And this particular dismissal of Khawaja from Mark Wood can really be played over and over and over again. And of course, if any of you are following me on Instagram, you will see that as my story. Travis Head comes in. Another left-hander who's also been in fine form, but he's coming up against a really pumped-up seam attack that obviously is benefiting well from conditions. Ben Stokes winning the toss, opting to stick Australia in and being rewarded with 3 wickets this time. Now, of course, Stokes did win the toss in the last 2 tests, but he also lost the last 2 tests. He will want to break that trend, and there can hardly be a better place to do that than at Headingley. Head playing his 40th test today, 6 centuries, 15 half centuries, a personal best of 175 against the West Indies at Adelaide in 2022. 3 balls left in Wokes' over, and he's now bowling to a lefty. Is he still over the wicket? Yes, he is. Over the wicket to the left-handed Head, who tries to play that on the on, but only succeeds in steering that to the mid-wicket fielder. And we're playing this wicket again. Excellent delivery, really. It was coming towards Labuschagne. It forced him to play, and all he could do was get the edge, and Joe Root was not going to drop that. And you just felt that Labuschagne was really right for either an LBW or a catch. But Head gets off the mark, keeps his head down, and pummels that past the cover fielder for 4. I mean, not so much punched, but pummeled, but definitely punched back, using Wokes' pace to guide it past that fielder, and that takes Australia to 65 for 3. So England probably won't mind conceding these. They won't mind conceding these runs as long as they can get a few wickets. And I think if they can bowl Australia out for anything under 200 or even 250, that would be quite magnificent. It could very well be that Australia lose all their 10 wickets in the first day's play. And if possible, if I'm able to do so, I will, in fact, provide you coverage of the evening session today to find out exactly what has gone on. Maiden over in the Scotland-Netherlands clash, 39 for 7. Netherlands is still going quite strong. Scotland, of course, having their total fueled by a brilliant century from Brandon McMullen, half century from skipper Richie Berrington, and some good late order hitting from Thomas McIntosh near the end. Chris McBride chipping in with 32 at the top of the order, but ducks for Matthew Cross and Mark Watt. Not really ideal, but 277 for 9 is not a bad total at all. Ollie Robinson back into the attack. No LBW shout there, and Smith is able to play that for a single. I don't think he got bat on that though. Whoops, I have to change the score there. Australia are 65 for 3 after 20. They, of course, are now 66 for 3 after 20.1. And that will be reflected at the end of the over. Robinson to the left-handed Travis Head. And that should be called a wide, but it isn't. Probably because Head was trying to play at that and just missed it. And has he shaved his mustache and his beard? I just wonder if, like Samson, he might lose a bit of his strength. Nah, he's still got his hair on his head. And that is a poor delivery, really. That is guided all the way to the fine leg area. I think that split the field. It might have been momentarily in the air, but you absolutely cannot pitch that at middle and leg, because for Travis Head, that is quite simply meat and drink to him. And I think Hawaja will be looking at that shot and thinking he missed an opportunity there. Maybe it's a case of Robinson starting to tire. I don't know. Split the field, 1 bounce 4. And I think it was Zach Crawley and Joe Root back there. And eventually they decide to take a single, keeping the scoreboard ticking. And this is pretty good stuff from Travis Head. He's already hit a couple of boundaries and started to get things rolling again. Run rate getting back to about 3.5 and over thereabouts. Once again, this is the link. Join in if you're in the studio. I will definitely recognize you, and we can have a chat. But we probably won't have long before the end of this session anyway. And that is nicely guided through to deep mid-wicket for another single. And that takes Australia to 72 for 3. And so Smith and Head are going to have a big role to play. Obviously, Smith is in quite decent form himself. Brilliant century at Lords, earning man of the match honours despite Ben Stokes' magnificent efforts. Travis Head also looking in fine touch. Deserves a century of his own and sort of plays the high defensive shots to end the over. And after 21 overs, Australia are 72 for 3. So, Bhargav, 21 overs bowled, no spin, only seam. Will we see seam take us through to the end, or will Moeen Ali turn his arm over for an over or two before lunch? Former Australian women's captain Mel Jones and former England men's captain Michael Atherton are in the commentary box now on my telly, but you're not hearing either of them here on YouTube. You are hearing my cold, infected voice. Yep, confirmation. If here's the link if anyone wants to join me. Thanks a lot, Hanno, for that. Chris Wokes coming back in, and once again, Smith showing some good touch there, trying to play that on the onside, but only finding the mid-wicket fielder. Joe Root, of course, well in line to break almost every single England record standing. Already England's highest run scorer in all formats combined. And what a shot that is from Smith. That is big, it is high, but it is also handsome. A huge shot there over the square leg boundary, backward point boundary. And that is the first 6 of the Australian innings. Wokes going short. Smith seeing that well, getting into position quite beautifully. You pitch on middle and leg, and you are asking to be hit. Short, and it had hit me written all over it. And Smith said, "Thank you very much indeed, mate. A nice birthday present for my 100th test." I mean, not birthday per se, but you know what I mean. And Smith plays that to the mid-wicket area. Moving on to 17 off 24. Travis Head, 9 off 7. So they're going along quite nicely, but they also haven't scored quite enough to say that they're out of danger. And I think Stokes' decision to take Mark Wood off with Smith having just come to the crease. Do please pardon me. Digestive issues and all that crap. I would definitely say that Ben Stokes' decision to take Mark Wood out of the attack with Steve Smith coming in will be a decision he might go on to regret, notwithstanding Wokes taking the wicket of Marnus Labuschagne. Because with Smith having scored a century and Head also being in good touch, these two guys are really Australia's danger men. Wokes once again hitting the deck, allowing that, and the batsman allowing that to go through to the wicketkeeper. We're going to find out how many more overs are left before lunch. There could be about 2 or 3, I would say. Lunch is set to be taken, as I've said, at 1 p.m. UK time, which is, of course, 5:30 p.m. over here in India. I believe it'll be 3 o'clock in South Africa, where Hanno is. And, of course, it will be at, I would say, 11 o'clock in the night in Sydney, Australia. Last ball of the over. Can Wokes make up for that with a wicket? And a waft there from Head. Travis, thankfully, not quite losing his head. Goes through to the wicketkeeper. And after 22 overs, Australia are 79 for 3. Run rate healthier now, above 3.5 and over. I really, really, really despise these advertisements, but that's the price you pay when you're watching cricket on Indian Sports Channel. And, of course, they're going to be showing that Khawaja wicket for quite some time. And instead of bringing Mark Wood back in, Stuart Broad's going to get a bowl. It could very well be that Mark Wood might get an over or 2 before lunch. It will be Stuart Broad. Right arm over the wicket to the right-handed Stephen Smith. Smith plays that very well on the onside, indeed, all the way to the square leg position for another single. And he's chugging along nicely, getting his run through singles and an occasional boundary. And now the field will be changed for Travis Head, but I imagine Stuart Broad will perhaps continue to bowl over the wicket. Or does he go round like he did for David Warner? Nope, he's over the wicket to the left-hander Travis Head. And Head plays a sort of a high defensive shot, and the cover fielder, Moeen Ali, clears that up. Short cover, in a way. Well, he's gone further back now, but once again, right arm over the wicket to the left-hander Travis Head. And that goes over the batsman who ducks straight through to the wicketkeeper. And this is another example of how, when it's being bowled short, if you duck, you avoid any kind of trouble. Sometimes as a batsman, you've got to be able to judge which balls can be attempted, which balls can't be. And especially if you're of a little bit shorter stature, you've got a much lower center of gravity and you can duck quite easily. Three balls left in this over. Another short delivery which tries to get into Travis's head. But Travis keeps a cool head and says, not today. A bit of a snorter, though, which had him in a bit of discomfort, but he was never in danger of losing his wicket. And it looks as though Stokes has asked Broad to try to start banging it in short and not getting it to seam. And could it well be that the conditions have started to die down a bit? I don't know. Two deliveries left. Another rising delivery after being pitched, but once again, Head dealing with that quite well. Last ball of the over. Head with his tongue out near his cheek. Another snorter which Head allows to go through to the wicketkeeper. And after 23 overs, Australia 80 for 3, going on at just under 3.5 and over. Oh, for heaven's sake. Sick of this. Pargav, I'll get you on right now. Good to have you on now. Man? Hey, nothing much. Listen, I mean, we probably only have a couple of overs left before the end of the session, but I don't know if you support England, but if you do, you must be quite chuffed at what's going on.
Yeah, I'm pretty neutral with cricket, honestly. Like, I don't even support India personally. Like, it's one of those things. It's just the game's nice. You just love watching a good game, honestly. At the end of the day, I don't know. The it's a true international sport, right? When you think about it, like it's probably one of the only sports where
kind of in a way. And Mark Wood is brought back into the attack up against Stephen Smith, but I think with the conditions having died down a bit, Smith is able to guide Mark Wood's first ball down to square leg for 2. So I was actually talking earlier about how Mark Wood should have had at least 1 or 2 overs to bowl at Stephen Smith when he had just come into bat. Instead, Smith is now quite set. He's now gone to 20 off 26 and is seeing the ball quite well, feeling it very well. And I wonder if Wood coming on now is a bit too little too late.
No, I don't think so. I think he was gonna wear out, considering like he's not used to it just yet. So I think that it's probably better that they load manage him, I guess.
I still believe that 1 more over wouldn't have taken too much out of him, and if it had potentially gotten Smith or Labuschagne as early as that, it would have been definitely justified. But I mean, obviously Labuschagne was induced into playing a bit of a poor stroke an edge, and Joe Root was not going to drop that. But third delivery of the over. Let's see.
You know, Mark
And
Wood's playing like he's playing like Stuart Broad in the first game in the first match.
yeah, and here's the thing: when you're a fast bowler, you want to really, pitch it up, pitch it a bit fuller, because when you get that prodigious swing, when you pitch it even fuller, you will cause problems. If you don't pitch it up properly, you're not going to get the wickets you want. You're not going to get your edges, your LBWs, or your deliveries, which Castle, your opponent, and Smith playing that for a single, bringing Travis Head on strike to face the final three balls of this over. At one stage, Wood was bowling nothing but maidens and dot balls, and that delivery to Khawaja was an absolute peach. You've got to pitch it up. Now I think he might be a little bit tired, as you say. So you want to take advantage of him for at least one more over. And I think a brave captain would have said, you know what, we've got Steve Smith at the crease, not set yet. Trouble him first up. Don't allow him to get settled in. And that is something that Stokes will regret. All these fine margins in a way. And that could potentially be a drop by Bairstow. His wicket keeping has been under scrutiny this series, and in some cases, it has not been good enough. Sort of pitched on the leg side, Head trying to get that. If there was an edge, then that will definitely go down as a drop, but it probably just swung away from Head anyway, but still, you expect a guy of Bairstow's experience not to drop that. What do you say, Bhargav?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, definitely with the wicket keeping. But this is that partnership that they have to break. I mean, this is the one that's been killing them the entire series. So that could be a really big miss.
Yep. And in that kerfluffle, they ended up managing to run for a single, and this single has now been taken by Steve Smith. So Australia now 85 for 3. Smith and Head sort of keeping the scoreboard ticking. We're going to see if there was an edge, and yes, there was. Johnny be bad, as it were.
I mean, playing at home too, it's not a good look.
Yeah, so I tell you what, if Bairstow doesn't score with the bat this match, he could very well be dropped for Ben Folkes.
That's a difficult drop too. Like, I mean,
well, end of the 24th over, Australia 85 for 3, and I'll tell you what, given the circumstances with the early losses of Warner and Khawaja, and of course Labuschagne later on, you suppose they'd be quite happy. About 3.5 and over. Pretty good stuff from them.
Man, if they would have gotten that, like they're in the driver's seat.
You bet.
That's such a big miss.
Yep. Johnny. I remember seeing Ben Stokes giving Bairstow a little bit of encouragement, and Travis Head also patting Wood on the back. Stuart Broad back into the attack, and there's his first ball to see. Steve Smith is allowed to go through to the wicketkeeper. After this, there might probably be one over before they break for lunch, or this could possibly be the final over. I'm not too sure. But Bairstow has to put that behind him because he now needs to keep his focus. One more drop could prove costly. And Bhargav, you've got to give England some credit for having the. What a delivery that was! Is there an edge? Yes, there's an edge. And Thomasena raises his finger, and the danger man on his 100th test. Well, I think he's opting to review that immediately because he says there wasn't an edge. But if there was an edge, then England are definitely in the driver's seat. But I was just saying, you've got to give England some credit for having the gumption to make the big decisions they've made with regard to changing the bowling attack. And you've got to say it's reaped dividends, hasn't it?
No, it's definitely reaped dividends. I think that needed some freshening up. I mean, yeah, I
Mm.
mean for sure. Like, I mean, it's weird because I think they were 50-50 about Mark Wood, right? They're 50-50 about Mark Wood, the bringing him in, but like I think that was. I wonder what he would have done in the last
Well,
half.
of costly reviewed that because there was a very thin ultra edge. And
Yeah.
so Steve Smith, who wanted to review the decision, believing that he didn't get an edge to that, will now have to walk back. So Australia are
Mm.
now 85 for 4 after 24.2 overs. And the danger man on his 100th test now has to make the long, trudging walk back. So Australia in real trouble. And this could very well be the session that swings this match and possibly the series back in England's favour. We'll have to see. Bairstow doing his bit. Broad and Bairstow were convinced there was an edge. Steve Smith wasn't really happy with that, and you can see some people in the crowd waving him goodbye.
That's the faint. How faint was that age actually?
It wasn't as faint as you might think because there was a bit of a spike on the
Yeah.
ultra edge. Promising innings of 22, but promise doesn't get you
Oh,
very much. And 85 for 4 with, I do believe it's Alex Carey who's come in, or is it Mitchell Marsh? We will find out. But Australia are now in a world of trouble. And
that's that's interesting because I- that kind of dismissal is kind of rare though, right?
what
You
dismissal are you
only get
talking
like
about?
outside. No, the Steve Smith dismissal because it happened inside, right? It was an inside edge.
Yep, inside to straight to Bairstow.
Yeah, straight to Bairstow. I mean, most of the time that just comes down to technique, doesn't it? A dismissal like
Kind
that.
of. I think, listen, with Stuart Broad, his value lies best in being able to really pitch the ball up and try and induce the edge. He's an excellent seamer. You can't get him to bowl short like they tried to do at Lords because obviously, Lyon and Cummins were able to leave his balls alone. And whenever there was a bad ball, they just hit him. And it looks as though it is Mitchell Marsh who has, in fact, come out to bat. Marsh, of course, being brought into the team for Cameron Green, who's been nursing a slight hamstring injury. Marsh, of course, coming from cricketing royalty, one of the Marsh, part of the Marsh dynasty, Jeff and the late Rodney. We're taking a look at this dismissal again. Smith was convinced there wasn't an edge, but I'm not too sure what he would have been thinking with that review. I think with the ultra edge showing a bit of a spike, he would have known there was an edge. And an appeal for an LBW straight up, but that probably would have gone on to miss off stump. So Stuart Broad is pumped. And this could very well be the last over of the session before England break for tea. And I'll tell you what, the England boys are going to enjoy their cuppa a lot more. So not a very big spike, but a spike nonetheless. And I think Smith will feel a little bit disappointed, but maybe he will look back on that and realize, you know what? I was done for.
So Mitchell Marsh, is he an all rounder or is he a straight batsman?
I believe he's playing in the team as an all rounder. In fact, we're going to take a look at his career stats and find out a bit more. And let me check an update from the Scotland Netherlands game. Have to refresh that. Well, Netherlands have lost a wicket, of course, but they are still going well at 65 for 1 after close to 13 overs, though. So the run rate has dipped a bit, but Scotland's still in a better position. And a beautifully played shot there by Mitchell Marsh, straight through the cover region, and that goes to the boundary for 4. At the end of the 25th over, Australia 89 for 4. A little bit of an end with a flourish, but I do believe that that will be the last over before the lunch session. I don't believe that there will be enough time to get 6 more balls in. So 25 overs. Oh, they are actually having another one being bowled. So maybe there is a little bit of time left. And it's Mark Wood who'll be bowling the final over the wicket to the left-hander Travis Head, who ends up guiding that to the cover region for a single, and that takes Australia to 90 for 4. And as I said, I'm looking up Mitchell Marsh right now. Mitchell Ross Marsh, the son of Jeff Marsh and the brother of Sean Marsh, and of course, the nephew of the late, great Rodney Marsh. Second delivery from Wood. A huge heave at that from Mitch, and goes straight through to the wicketkeeper. And he is, in fact, an all-rounder. 32 tests, 1,260 runs with 2 centuries and 3 50s. A very low average of 25, but he still can play. Just above 2,000 ODI runs and 1,000 T20 international runs. And as far as his bowling is concerned, he has 42 wickets in tests, 54 in ODIs, 15 in T20s. So he is an all-rounder. He hasn't really had very great returns, but he can certainly do a job if the situation requires. And it could very well be that he might be asked to fill in as a fourth seamer.
Oh, he's a seamer. Okay.
Not so much a seamer as more of a medium pacer. And speaking of pacer, what a delivery that was from Wood. Also cleaned up Marsh, but didn't really affect his stumps and went straight through to the wicketkeeper. And so you can see, instead of trying to bowl short all the time, when you have a new ball or a semi-new ball, you pitch it up. You can get your rewards. And just you take a look at the seam movement over there. I think Mark Wood is also going to be the type of bowler who can, if the ball loses some of its shine on one side but retains the shine on the other, hello reverse swing. Who knows?
Well, so is the pitch expected to favor England over time?
Obviously, with England winning the toss, they wanted to bowl first and take advantage of the overcast conditions and also the conditions of the pitch. Headingley has always been a pitch which has aided the faster bowlers. I do seem to remember in 2002 when England played India, they stuck India into bat, but England completely wasted their advantage. They allowed India to rack up about 600 odd and lost that match by an innings. So at least this time around, the bowlers have stuck to their task, and as we both agree, they've bowled manfully and to a purpose. So are you watching it on Sony as well?
Yeah, live TV.
Yep. Of course, coverage is coming through Sky Sports, so I'm sure you might have a good time listening to Athers, NASA, KP, and company, while I have to keep it muted so that there is no sound compromise there.
I mean, most of the time I watch sports without the sound or commentary. After a while, it just gets kind of it's not that. I think you just learn more, you pick up more, you think about it more. Watching a game with
last
with
ball of the session, and that is played very nicely to the square leg fielder. That will be a single, and that will be the end of the session, and the players will take a break for lunch. Arguably, Australia's session, I mean, not arguably, definitely Australia's session with those 4 wickets, but Australia have fought back reasonably well. And 91 for 4 isn't too bad, but with Mitchell Marsh having just come out to the crease and Travis Head still there, both of these batsmen are going to have roles to play. And of course, Mitchell Carey will be, Alex Carey rather, will be expected to play a bit of a role, with only Stark and Cummins to come afterwards, who can wield the long handle, followed by Boland and Todd Murphy, who are genuine rabbits, although Boland has been used as a night watchman. So if you've watched the whole session from the morning, you would have been delighted. I mean, obviously, I know you're a neutral, but if you were supporting England and hoping that England would win, and I do believe you predicted that England would win, you would have been happy with the turn of events today.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, I watched the entire session. So I think England's bowling has been fantastic. the defense of the Australian batsmen. It's not that they played bad. I think they just had their moments. Like England struck at like interesting times. Um,
Absolutely,
I mean, think about
absolutely.
it. Like Warner going, that was I mean, that happens. It happens at times, but like that was a good one. Which one was Oh yeah, Mark Wood's Kawaja going. That was probably the best. I think that was probably the best wicket of
Yeah,
the session.
exactly. Mark Wood's figures have been
So
outstanding. 6 overs, 3 maidens, 1 for 8. Brilliant economy, absolutely threatening. Broad has 2 for 20 off 5, so a bit expensive. And Chris Wokes also chiming in with a wicket of his own. So only Robinson has failed to really trouble the scorers that much in the wickets column, but all 4 of these seamers have done well. We haven't seen spin yet. We could very well see spin in the middle of the session between lunch and tea. And of course, we do have another session from tea until the end of play. So I will end the session quite quickly, but before that, I'm going to ask you maybe a few questions. What do you predict Australia's score will be? And do you see the Australian bowlers also taking advantage of these conditions? Because I think we all know that as erratic as Mitchell Stark can be, when he is on song, he is impossible to play.
wait, who you talking about? Mitchell? Who you talking about?
Mitchell Stark.
Oh, Mitchell Stark. For me, I think it's gonna be. I think they're gonna get bowled out for like somewhere between 215 and like probably 215. I'll probably go with a. Um, I'll probably go with somewhere like 175 to like 215. I think that'll probably be their score. I just for me, I think the bowling's just been really good, right? There hasn't been like they haven't been hit for four as quite frequently, and it's kind of difficult. So for me, I expect the bowlers to like continue the dominance.
Yeah, now we've got some commentators in the studio right now. Michael Atherton, Mark Taylor, legendary Ashes captains themselves. I wouldn't say Atherton was necessarily legendary, but it is what it is. And a neutral voice in the form of Kumar Sangakkara from Sri Lanka. So,
He's a great
I mean,
commentator, by the way.
yeah, I do like them. I mean, I especially do enjoy listening to Mark Taylor. I remember him, being a really fine captain of Australia, succeeding Alan Border. And it was a bit of a surprise that he was given the job over Steve Waugh at the time, but he proved his worth, and Steve Waugh followed, and the rest is history. And yeah, so a bold prediction there between 175 and 215. But the follow-up question, of course, is about the Australian seamers. Do you think they can have a field day on this field today?
Yeah, yeah. So that's the other thing. I think like Boland's actually going to do really well with the way he plays. Stark could get hit. It just, I mean, um, I think Cummins and like Boland will actually do pretty well on this pitch because what it seems to favor is like people who hit their like lines and lengths really consistently and not give away too much. So I think like those two will do extremely well on this one. I think Stark might struggle actually, as always, but yeah, they'll have their own moments, but I don't. But we'll see. Like I think England, if they can keep it below 200, 215, I think they should win this test. They've given themselves like a really good platform.
Absolutely, absolutely. Although it could end up being a low-scoring test that could get over in maybe 3 or 4 days, we will have to wait and see. Because I think anything so far we've seen that anything that England can do, Australia could do better, especially when it comes to taking wickets and troubling the batsmen very well. I think we have to take a look at the Lord's Test and say that the majority of the batsmen got themselves out playing some really stupid, injudicious shots. They're going to have to really rein that in this time around. And speaking of rain, I do not want to see this test being affected by rain, although this one could very well produce a result even with the rain. So we will wait and see. As I said, if possible, and if time permits, I will definitely be back to do the evening session of play, which follows T and goes through to the end of play today. And some coverage of Steve Smith walking out to the field. I don't know if he had his ceremony for his 100th test on the field. It might have been back in the dressing room. But he will have been disappointed with the way he got out. And I think the second innings could very well see him, rise to the occasion. It will remain to be seen, of course, what happens then. But Parga, before I end the session, let me just say thank you very much for joining in. And I'm now going to sort of put you in the spotlight, as it were. Do please tell us how we can get in touch with you and have a chat about all things cricket or football or anything sports related, whatever.
Yeah, like I don't really do YouTube like that, but like I just like coming on when there's a good game on, and I guess I mean, yeah, that's pretty much it for now. There's not really a channel I've been on since like Steven's passing away, unfortunately. But yeah, like most of the time, yeah, you'll just see me like around YouTube. sorry about like the answer, but like haven't really done many like streams this summer, so.
But you do have a social media account, don't you?
I mean, just Instagram. You'll find me on.
Yep, just look up Bhargav Kondetti. I do believe it is B. Is it B underscore Kondetti one or B point dot Kondetti one?
It just says bargav.fl. No.
Oh, so you've changed it, huh? Nice one.
Oh yeah, because I'm like people. I guess like people haven't like found. People had difficulty finding me. So after a while, like I'm like, all right, I'll change it.
I guess that makes a great deal of sense. But anyway, thank you for coming on. It was perhaps a little bit late, but I don't know. It was perhaps a little bit late, but always better late than never. Glad to have someone to keep me company. Yeah. And of course, big up to Hanno for organizing this video. And once again, I do apologize for being a little bit late, but thankfully I was able to hop on in time to start coverage just before the start of play. And at the moment, this is how it stands. England firmly in the driver's seat, but Australia still having a little bit of battling in them. And it will be very interesting to see how the upcoming sessions play out. And of course, if possible, if I do decide to do a stream for the final session today, we will see how things have panned out. But once again, thank you to everyone in the chat who's come in, the likes of Daz Reynolds, Hassan, and several others. You've contributed a great deal to this stream, and you've made it what it is. Zayn as well. And yeah, for now, though, it is time for us to bid you adieu, and we will see you all later. Until then, take care of yourselves and have a good rest of your day. Cheers.